Someone will be waiting there for you, and they will unlock the door and let you in.
Hollywood will never forget Olivia de Havilland when she stepped foot in a courtroom in 1943. Behind her back, her co-stars referred to her as a traitor, and studio executives spread false rumors about her to everyone who would listen. Her job search lasted nearly 2 years. Losing nearly all of her friends was the price she paid for standing up to Warner Brothers. How the most beloved lady in America became the most reviled figure in Hollywood is the true narrative told here. Tokyo, Japan, is where Olivia de Havilland came into this world on July 1, 1916. Walter Augustus de Havilland and Lillian Augusta Roos were both born in Britain. My mother was an actress and her father was a professor and patent attorney. The birth of Olivia Fontaine's sister Joan occurred 1 year thereafter. Their lives were abruptly upended in 1919 when Lillian learned that Walter had been unfaithful. They resided in Tokyo's International District during a period when the globe was still rebuilding from Globe War I. She left him and their girls for California after making the tough decision. Throughout their lives, Walter remained aloof and stayed behind in Japan. Originally from San Francisco, Lillian eventually relocated the family to the peaceful hamlet of Saratoga, located south of the city. She thought her girls' health would improve in the warmer climate. The loss of their father had a profound impact on Olivia and Joan's formative years. Olivia showed tenacity even in his absence. She had a passion for reading and storytelling, which were early indications of the profession that would come to characterize her. Their family's origins on the English Channel island of Guernsey gave rise to the surname de Havilland. While navigating American culture, Olivia's British history served as a source of strength and identity. Olivia was 8 years old when Lillian remarried in 1924. George Milan Fontaine, her new husband, was a disciplinarian who believed in hard rules and hardly displayed any sign of warmth. Olivia and Joan were required to stay home and not participate in any extracurricular activities, since Fontaine wanted total submission. Things became more tense at home once Olivia started acting in school productions. She was faced with an ultimatum from him: either quit acting or leave home permanently. Olivia made a life-altering decision when she was just 16 years old. Independently pursuing performing, she left home. While still in high school, she found her true calling as a theatrical performer, taking part in productions of classics such as The Merchant of Venice and Alice in Wonderland. She persisted in pursuing her gift despite her stepfather's attempts to discourage her. Something out of the ordinary occurred in 1933. The Hollywood Bowl was hosting a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream by the renowned theatrical director Max Reinhardt. Olivia was chosen to play the part of Hermia's understudy. At barely 18 years old, it seems like a baby step, yet the lead actress and her original understudy both bowed out right before the debut. At the last minute, Olivia was cast in the part, and her arrival on stage altered the course of events. Her performance was a huge hit with the crowd. Above all, Reinhardt recognized her abilities. Olivia was adamant that Reinhardt be a part of the film adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream that Warner Brothers was developing. She was signed to a 7-year contract by the studio in 1934, with a beginning salary of $200 per week. After they agreed. For an adolescent just starting out, that was a substantial amount. Olivia got her big break with the 1935 picture. Olivia wasn't simply another beginner. Her performance stood out, and she co-starred with James Cagney and Dick Powell, two actors who were established Hollywood legends. It marked the start of a far larger undertaking. Warner Brothers took a risk during the Great Depression with Captain Blood, 1935, which was her breakout role. The studio chose two unproven actors, de Havilland and Flynn, in leading roles, taking a risk. In contrast to Flynn's Peter Blood, an Irish doctor who transforms into a pirate, she portrayed Arabella Bishop, the lively niece of a Jamaican plantation owner. August to October 1935 was the filming period. The film received 4 nominations for Academy Awards, including Best Picture, after its successful December 28th debut. Additionally, it catapulted de Havilland to stardom by introducing viewers to her charisma and grace. They became one of Hollywood's most popular on-screen couples after appearing in 8 films together. Her connection with Flynn was evident. The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, a Technicolor extravaganza shot between September 1937 and January 1938, was their subsequent blockbuster. The part of Maid Marian might have been portrayed by anybody. Yet de Havilland transformed her into an intellectual and courageous heroine who was prepared to risk everything to aid Robin Hood and his soldiers. The picture was nominated for Best Picture at the 1938 Academy Awards after its May 14th premiere and subsequent classic status. Despite her popularity, de Havilland felt stuck in her roles as the beautiful heroine supporting a brave hero. Her fans loved these movies, but she was looking for more. She was looking for multifaceted individuals who would propel the plot rather than merely provide background information. Gone with the Wind, released in 1939, gave audiences their opportunity. Her role as Melanie Hamilton was made possible by a loan from Warner Brothers to producer David O. Selznick. She had never acted in such a different capacity before. Melanie possessed an unassuming power that left an impression, even though she lacked glitz and was not motivated by action. Under the direction of Victor Fleming, filming commenced in January 1939. De Havilland co-starred with Vivien Leigh as Scarlett O'Hara and Clark Gable as Rhett Butler following George Cukor's replacement. Melanie was brought to life by de Havilland, but the picture was truly captivated by Leigh's performance. Melanie became so much more than Scarlett's kind buddy thanks to her endearing and resilient performance. The Atlanta theater Loew's Grand Theater hosted the film's debut on December 15, 1939. It went on to become one of the highest-grossing films of all time. Hattie McDaniel, who won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, became the first African-American actress, while de Havilland received her first Oscar nomination for the role. Nonetheless, de Havilland's nomination demonstrated that she was more than just your average romantic interest. A turning moment came with Melanie. Subtlety and emotional complexity, rather than physical attractiveness alone, were necessary for the part. It gave de Havilland the opportunity to showcase her talents and fill a gap in her professional journey. She was sick of playing the stereotypical pretty lady in films about guys and wanted to start starring in roles that required her to think critically and emotionally. However, Warner Brothers showed little enthusiasm for innovation. She was fed up with being offered the same sorts of assignments time and time again. She would need to stand up and demand change if she desired it. The lawsuit that Olivia de Havilland filed against Warner Brothers in 1943 had a lasting impact on Hollywood. Studios would bind performers to long-term contracts and choose their parts, leaving little room for creative freedom for the actors. The original term of de Havilland's contract with Warner Brothers was for 1 year, but the studio kept extending it. She had been with the company since 1936. They would invoke a suspension provision if she declined to work or became ill, therefore pausing her contract and ensuring that she could never have genuine freedom. Despite serving 7 years by 1943, Warner Brothers insisted she owed them more time. Defending herself was her decision. De Havilland claimed legal action against the studio on August 23, 1943. She argued that no contract for personal services could be longer than 7 years, citing Section 2855 of the California Labor Code. Her stance was quite clear. That limit should not be extended by suspensions. A precedent-setting ruling in her favor may shake up the whole market. Over a year passed during the conflict. Warner Brothers attempted to derail her career by blacklisting her and sending letters to rival studios advising them not to hire her. However, de Havilland was unyielding. The Court of Appeal of California found in her favor on December 8, 1944. The court ruled that 7 years was to be understood as 7 calendar years rather than 7 years of continuous employment without breaks. The de Havilland Law was the name given to this decision. It made it such that studios couldn't sign performers to endless contracts. However, de Havilland lost nearly 2 years of labor and spent $113,000 in legal bills, equivalent to around $230,000 today, in order to win the lawsuit. Someone said her career was over. After that, in 1946, she disproved all of her doubters. Paramount Pictures cast her in the film To Each His Own once she signed on. The Academy Award for Best Actress went to her for her stunning performance. The Heiress, a picture that showcased her versatility as an actor, earned her another Oscar 3 years later. During that time, she was a leading lady in The Snake Pit, an early Hollywood picture that dealt with mental illness. The part cemented her status as one of the finest actors of her day and garnered her yet another Oscar nod. For many actresses ensnared in unjust contracts, de Havilland became a hero through her struggle. Actress Joan Fontaine, Olivia's sister, acknowledged that Olivia owes Hollywood a substantial amount. However, not everyone were in her corner. Studio heads thought she was a rascal. The man who had attempted to destroy her career, Jack Warner, never forgave her and criticized her for being spoiled. Hollywood was forever transformed by her, even if some stars shied away from her for fear of upsetting the studios. There was no better cinematic pairing than Olivia de Havilland and Errol Flynn. They appeared in 8 films together from 1935 until 1941. The audience thought their relationship had to be genuine because of how strongly they acted. The captivating Australian actor Flynn was immediately captivated by de Havilland upon their 1935 meeting at Warner Brothers. She was 19 years old, lovely and kind, and he was 26 years old, charming and self-assured. Captain Blood, their debut feature picture, established they were unique. They became legendary 3 years later with The Adventures of Robin Hood. Their off-screen connection was tangled. Even though de Havilland knew Flynn was married to actress Lily Demeta, she chose not to pursue her affections for him. At a 1937 gala ball celebrating King George VI's coronation, Flynn had little trouble professing his love to her. She rejected him, telling him to resolve his marriage issues first, something he never accomplished. His book, written years later, revealed his profound affection for her. De Havilland was taken aback and moved by what she read. She said that she had never thought their bond was inconsequential, even after his 1959 death. The unspoken affection between them enhanced the allure of their pictures. They were respectful to one another at first. However, tensions rose as time went on. Warner Brothers persisted teaming de Havilland with Errol Flynn, who played the girl in his swashbuckling flicks, despite her desire for more demanding parts. Conflicts arose between her and the studio, and even Flynn himself as she battled for better chances. Things were made worse by Flynn's actions. Among his many vices was an excess of alcohol, which he used to play practical jokes on people, including de Havilland. He staged a sequence in 1940's Santa Fe Trail, where just the back of her head could be seen, putting his face front and center. Since she was seeing Jimmy Stewart at the time, she thought he was envious and did it to get even. Filming They Died with Their Boots On in 1941 occurred during the height of their hostilities. After he personally requested de Havilland to collaborate with him again, she changed her mind about her original refusal. Despite the pressure, their last scene was quite touching. Gazing into de Havilland's eyes, Flynn, in his role as General Custer, spoke the words that were more than simply scripted dialogue. They signified the end of their on-screen collaboration, and perhaps something deeper. Olivia de Havilland's romantic life was as complex as the films in which she appeared. The most shocking part was when she declined Jimmy Stewart's marriage proposal. The charismatic and approachable actor was highly esteemed by his fellow Hollywood industry professionals. His 1939 gesture of taking her to the premiere of Gone with the Wind made their relationship a hot issue in gossip columns. When he proposed in the 1930s or 1940s, she turned him down because she didn't think he was mature enough for a serious commitment. Many assumed they would elope. The public was unaware that de Havilland had secretly developed feelings for another person. In 1941, while filming a project, director John Huston became a part of her life. His reputation as a womanizer, shrewd intellect, and defiant nature set him apart from Stewart. Even though he was married, their romance continued unabated. Despite their rocky relationship, de Havilland greatly respected his intelligence and humor, and felt a strong bond with him via their common appreciation of literature and the arts. More than only her private life was impacted by her choice to decline Stewart. She turned down the part of Mary Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life in 1946 because she was uncomfortable working with Jimmy Stewart so soon after their romance ended. De Havilland won her first Oscar that year for To Each His Own, while Stewart was nominated for the same picture. The media never stopped covering her romantic life. Marcus Goodrich, whose novel Delilah made him famous, was her husband when she wed in 1946. Fractures started to appear shortly after. It wasn't until she perused the newspaper that she learned of his 4 previous marriages. There was a lot of mental and physical violence in the marriage, and it became poisonous. Notable events include Goodrich's infamous plate-throwing of beefsteak pie across the room in a fit of rage, since he had originally desired steak and kidney pie. She put up with his erratic tantrums for a long time. To ensure her own safety, and that of their little son Benjamin, she filed a divorce in 1953 after consulting with her priest. There was hope for her second marriage. Pierre Galante was a French writer and editor for Paris Match. She wed him in 1955. She settled in Paris and penned a funny book about her life as a French culture shock survivor titled Every Frenchman Has One. Giselle was their kid, and for a while it looked like they were happy together. They did, however, divorce in 1962. They waited 17 years to formally dissolve their marriage before divorcing, ultimately doing so in 1979. They remained close even after their romance ended. De Havilland cared for Galante until his death in 1998 after he got sick. After marrying Pierre Galante, a French writer and executive editor at Paris Match at the age of 39, Olivia de Havilland took the daring choice to leave Hollywood and go to Paris in 1955. They found sanctuary in a 3-story home next to the Bois de Boulogne, away from the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. For her, this was a career-defining decision, not just a personal one. She stopped accepting every part that came her way and started picking and choosing the ones that fit her developing creative vision. During this time, 1964 was the year of one of her most iconic roles. Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte was Robert Aldrich's psychological thriller in which she appeared. Even before she joined the cast, the movie was garnering a lot of attention. Joan Crawford was set to star alongside Bette Davis as Miriam, but she had to back out due to sickness and behind-the-scenes drama. In a part rife with tension and treachery, de Havilland walked in and completely changed the character, adding grace and subtle menace. With 7 nominations, the picture was a smashing hit. It followed Davis's character Charlotte Hollis, a lady still troubled by the murder of her boyfriend from a bygone era. Dark developments involving de Havilland's character led to unexpected disclosures on greed and deceit in the film. Her career took a dramatic turn with this performance. Before, she had mostly portrayed innocent heroines and romantic leads. But now she was tackling more nuanced parts that showcased her full range of acting abilities. While in Paris, she immersed herself in European culture, learned French, and went to the Cannes Film Festival and other big events, not just because she was an actress. She had broken free of Hollywood's stifling pace and was now carving out a career for herself by acting in parts that genuinely captivated her. Even though the film business began to favor younger actresses in the 1970s, de Havilland remained committed to her craft. She sought new opportunities to display her ability by moving into television and the theater. She received accolades for her 1986 TV miniseries Anastasia, The Mystery of Anna, in which she played Dowager Empress Maria Fyodorova. Hollywood was no longer casting women of her era in historical or tragic parts, but television afforded her that opportunity. Also, she went back to her first love, the theater, which she had dabbled with earlier in her career. She proved she could do more than just play movies in the 1950s by appearing in Broadway productions of Candida and Romeo and Juliet. Now that she was nearing the end of her career, performing on stage gave her a chance to connect with fans on a deeper level. She made the decision to focus on television and theater, not just for her profession, but also so she could spend more time with her family. The security of Paris allowed her to focus on raising her two children, Giselle Galante and Benjamin Goodrich, from her second marriage. In contrast to many of her contemporaries, she was able to successfully juggle her professional and personal life. Her impact never faded, even when she left the performing profession in the late 80s. At the age of 101, she was bestowed with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017. Being the first woman to receive the honor at her advanced age, Queen Elizabeth II bestowed the title of Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire upon her. It arrived only days before her 101st birthday, and she deemed it the most satisfying of birthday presents. She was unable to attend the event in London due to her advanced age, therefore the award was given to her at the British Embassy in Paris. She won a slew of more accolades throughout the years. She was honored with the National Medal of Arts in 2008 by President George W. Bush for her significant cultural achievements to the United States. In 2010, she was bestowed the Legion of Honor by President Nicolas Sarkozy of France, in recognition of her influence in film and her adoptive nation. These accolades were a fitting tribute to her many accomplishments during her life, both as an actor and a cultural icon. Despite their obvious skill, the relationship between Joan Fontaine and Olivia de Havilland was fraught with animosity from the beginning. They shared many similarities, including being born 15 months apart. They were both famous during the golden age of Hollywood, received high praise from critics, and were awarded Oscars. These shared traits drove a wedge between them, rather than a bridge. One of the most notorious feuds in Hollywood history, their animosity continued for over a century. Their problems began when they were little. Over the years, Joan's bitterness at her mother for what she perceived as her favoritism toward Olivia intensified. There was a lot of fighting between the sisters. Reportedly, Olivia ripped up Joan's hand-me-downs and shattered Joan's collarbone during a furious quarrel beside a pool. The situation was already tense before Joan's mother insisted she alter her name when she chose to pursue acting. Using the de Havilland surname may set her apart from Olivia, thus she refrained from doing so. Joan felt like she didn't quite fit in when she took her stepfather's surname, Fontaine. Their public animosity intensified as they matured. Olivia received a nomination for Hold Back the Dawn, and Joan was nominated for Suspicion, making them the only siblings to ever fight for the Best Actress Oscar. Instead of a happy occasion shared by the sisters, Joan's victory exacerbated existing tensions. While Joan was accepting the trophy, Olivia attempted to offer her congratulations, but Joan paid them no mind. Olivia felt ashamed. Olivia got even 5 years later when she won an Oscar for To Each His Own. Olivia strode by Joan as she extended her hand to shake her hand. They fought for decades with only fleeting efforts at making amends. They made appearances together at a few of Hollywood gatherings in the 60s, but their relationship never recovered. In her memoirs, Joan pondered their rivalry and said, "I married first, won the Oscar before Olivia did, and if I die first, she'll undoubtedly be livid because I beat her to it." After Joan's death in 2013 at the age of 96, Olivia, who was 97 years old at the time, made a brief statement to convey her sorrow. According to her, she had never intended to instigate the animosity. The death of their mother in 1975 was a particularly devastating turning point in their animosity. During Joan's trip, Olivia was in charge of making funeral preparations. Cremation arrangements for their mother had already been made when Joan learned about it. The fact that Joan had to learn of their mother's passing from an outside source during the burial infuriated her, and she blamed Olivia for keeping the news from her. The sisters were completely silent, Then their relationship took a nosedive. It was only after some time that Joan found out her daughter had maintained covert communication with Olivia. She cut ties with her own children out of a sense of betrayal. While Olivia did acknowledge becoming defensive occasionally, she consistently maintained that her actions were motivated by love. Their professional careers were not immune to their personal rivalry. Both actors worked tirelessly to establish their reputations in the industry without relying on familial ties. Yet they frequently clashed over roles, and their animosity even extended to their private lives. Brian Aher, an actor who had dated Olivia before, was married to Joan. A lot of people took it as an attempt to irritate Olivia. Due to her role in Feud, Bet and Joan, Olivia de Havilland took legal action in 2017 by suing FX Networks and Ryan Murphy Productions. The long-lived rivalry between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford was the central theme of the series. Olivia was shown on the show as someone who was quick to criticize and spread rumors about other celebrities. In one scenario, she employed a term she never used with her sister Joan Fontaine, a dragon lady, which she considered quite distinct. According to her lawsuit, FX utilized her picture and name without her consent. She asserted that there were fabricated parts in the show, such an interview that didn't happen at the 1978 Oscars. After decades of avoiding the spotlight, she found herself portrayed in an unflattering light on television. Her attorneys expressed concern that other prominent persons may be harmed by approving this type of representation. Upon its 2018 appeal to the California Court of Appeal, the case received widespread media coverage around the country. The court agreed with FX that Feud had First Amendment protections and decided in their favor. They came to the conclusion that the show was artistically inspired, dramatizing historical events rather than faithfully portraying them. The court ruled that famous people had no say over the media's portrayal of them. Filmmakers' freedom to express themselves creatively was made abundantly plain by this landmark decision. The loss was catastrophic for de Havilland. Her legal battle came to a close in March 2018 when the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear the case. The court also ordered her to pay FX's attorney expenses. Opinions on the verdict were divided. Some regarded it as a win for creative freedom, while others worried that it would expose celebrities to false criticism. The judgment, according to de Havilland, disregarded her rights and put other famous people at risk. Therefore, she was very unhappy. Olivia de Havilland slept it off in her Parisian residence on July 26, 2020. Her death at the age of 104 from natural causes was a watershed moment. People from all across the globe sent their condolences. Actor Jared Leto praised her as a role model who helped many people break through, and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences praised her as having an incalculable gift. More than just the loss of a legendary actress, her demise was a watershed point in our nation's narrative. Olivia de Havilland was more than simply a legendary actress from yesteryear. She was a trailblazer, a warrior, and a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood, leaving an indelible mark on the business like no one else. Generations of moviegoers and performers have been moved by her films, her triumphs in the courtroom, and her unyielding determination.